Can you please state your name?
My name is Annie Strickland.
Annie, please give your address.
Roswell, Georgia.
And Annie, where were you born?
I was born in Grady Hospital in Atlanta.
Were your parents from Atlanta?
Yeah. Well, my father was from Marietta and my mother was from Alpharetta. So they hooked up some kind of way there.
And so when you were born, they actually lived in Atlanta?
They lived in Atlanta. Yes, we lived in Atlanta, on the west side of Atlanta.
And why did you move to Roswell?
Well, long story short, I met my cousin. They was going to Washington High School. And I was in the 9th grade up until the 11th and 12th grade in Washington High. And they approached me and said, "You have a cousin?" I said, "Yeah, okay." So they said, "We want you to come up to our house and visit." So that's what I did. I made 2 trips up here at Roswell. And the next trip that I came on, the second trip, I saw my husband, Joseph Strickland. And he was standing in the door with his mother, and somehow, some way, he followed me out to my uncle's house, which is just down the street. And I noticed him, he kept on looking at me or whatever, and sooner or later, he asked to be my boyfriend. So from then, I come back home, I finished my high school, and I came up to Roswell by myself on the bus. It was a Thanksgiving. I wanted to come to my uncle's house. So after that, we hooked up. In '47, we got married.
So your name was not Strickland.
Yeah, it was
What
Porter.
was your maiden name?
Yes, Porter.
Porter.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
My dad was named John Porter. My mother was named Lola Hutchin. Mm-hmm.
And so you got married. Did you get married in Roswell?
We got married at the courthouse in Atlanta. Yes, on Monday. We were supposed to get married on a Saturday, but my dad was going out of town. He was a porter on the train, and he was going out of town, so he didn't have time to go with him, because at that time we had to have a parent to come with us to get married. So he said we have to wait. So we waited till Monday to get married. So we got married January 6, '47.
1947. And how old were you in 1947?
I was 17.
17?
Yes.
Is that why you had to have a parent?
Yes, uh-huh.
And how old was your husband at that time?
He was 26.
Oh, so you married an older man.
He had already been in the Army, and he came out of the Army. And like everybody always said, that he married a teenager. So I guess.
So it worked out. So did you move to Roswell at that time?
At that time, yes, I moved to Roswell. And we were staying with his mother. And we stayed there till after my second child was born. We moved to a little apartment around on Webb Street. And we stayed there for a while until we built our home there at 57 Webb Street. It was just a little home, 4 rooms, and no bath, but it was a room for the bath. So after that, he kept working, and he worked for the loan company. I don't know if you know the loan company.
No, okay. I do not.
Brick Mason.
Yes, okay.
And then he worked at a furniture store also. He, part-time here and part-time there.
And were they both in Roswell?
In Roswell, mm-hmm. And I used to work with families, go home, go clean up and so forth. And from that, after a while, by and by, I got a job, what's called EOA, Economic Opportunity Atlanta, and I received a good check. I never seen a regular check. So from there, I moved on up, and long story short, EOA went down because the funding was not there at that time, so we went out and I got me another job here and there, and I worked for the Donahues for a long time, over 40-something years. And then from there I worked at Dobbins, Miss Dobbin, and I worked for, quite a few people I worked for. So that way we accumulated money enough with my husband and I. We accumulated money enough to buy our first little house, which was not that much at that time, but it was a lot of money for us. So we couldn't build, like put on the bathroom, this, that, and other. Sooner or later, we had enough money to get us a bathroom built in. And from there, the story just goes on, and we had our children.
How many children did you
have? We
have?
Four children. Larry Strickland, Morris Strickland, Emily Strickland, and Joanne Strickland. So from there, they went to high school, to grammar school first, and then from there, they went to Bailey Johnson, which opened up, I guess around the 50. And they went to school there until they went to, my second son, Morris, and Emily and Joanne, they went to high school, Roswell High School. But Larry and Leroy and others, they graduated from Bailey Johnson. So that's really my story in a way.
So did you know other people that lived on Webb Street?
Oh, sure. Just about everybody that was related lived there on Webb Street. His mother and his 3 sisters and cousins, and we all was congregated there on Webb Street. And they used to call it the alley. People a long time ago used to call it the alley, and I wonder why they called it the alley. Because everybody congregated over in the alley. Everybody knew one another over in the alley. So at that time too, they was having their mother's birthday. It was a birthday dinner then for her. And it kept going on and on and on till it became, after she passed away, it became the family reunion. So we still have the family reunion in August, and everybody know when we're gonna have the family reunion. We don't have to send out invitations to, let them come. Just in and everybody always congregate there at the home place then. But since we have sold part of the land, we now do it at the recreation centers in the parks.
So that was a happy memory for you on Webb Street.
Happy memories.
Do you know what other memories do you have of living on Webb Street?
Well, it was just a norm, in a way, like going to church.
What church did you go to?
Pleasant Hill Missionary Baptist Church. When I first came to Roswell, I was a Methodist. And at that time, it wasn't no Methodist here in Roswell, so I joined the Baptist. So.
Okay. Is there any other things? What did you do, like in the summertime on Webb Street?
Oh, the children just played and, basketball. They had basketball things in the yard because they couldn't really go to the park, and they understood all of that.
And why couldn't they go to the park?
Because they was their color, and they couldn't go, and couldn't join in the activities they had, so they made their own activities. At that time too, we had the Boys Club. They called the Boys Club, where the Northwood Child Development is right now. That was our Boys Club, and we would have chicken dinners and so forth to raise money for the boys to go to camp and so forth. And at that time too, Mr. Elick Knuckles, he was the scoutmaster, but everybody called him Mr. Sooty. So that was the activity for the boys, and the girls, they just hung around and played doll and stuff like that in house.
Do you remember ever going to Doc's Cafe?
Oh, sure, yes. That was another activity for us. We all congregate there, and you had a little piccolo, and they put money in it, and we danced there too. So yeah, we had a nice time there. Every weekend, we knew that we was gonna go down to that Doc's Cafe and have a good time.
What did you eat there?
We eat chillings and especially hot dogs, chili dogs. Yeah, good.
You remember the splits?
Do you remember the splits?
Yeah, that's what they called it. The hot dog, the splits. Yeah.
And did you just walk down to Doc's Cafe from Webb Street?
Yes. Yes. At that time, no, not many cars. We didn't have many cars there, But sooner or later, we did own a car, and everybody always, like I say, always knew one another. So they always, what you call it now, the carpool, and so that's the way we got around too.
Did you ever go down into Atlanta?
Yes, we went to Atlanta. They had, people come in like James Brown and all those would come in, and we go down to the city. They call it the City Auditorium. And then we went down on Auburn Avenue, where they had a lot of clubs and so forth. We went there for fun too. But how did we get there? On the bus. On the little bus they had from Roswell to Alpharetta. In Atlanta.
Did you shop in Atlanta, or did you usually shop in the Roswell area?
Well, they didn't have any shopping here in Roswell. They had one, I think it was named, I can't really lie now, Roswell, what was it?
Roswell store?
Roswell store.
In Smith's.
Yeah. And we went to Atlanta. I went to Richard, when it was a Richards in Atlanta, and a Davidson, and a Castles was in Atlanta. So that's where we, bought our clothes, cheering clothes and so forth. Yeah, we had a good time. I did, yes.
Do you remember any negative times in Roswell?
Only negative time was, only negative time was when we was having a little fun, like setting fish and so forth, and one side was kind of selling the fish, the other side was when you go over and dance and so forth. So I don't think we was making no noise or nothing like that, but sooner or later we heard out there in the yard, they had some crosses out there to burn.
And where was that, on Webb Street or at Dock?
This was at the little center that we were talking about, Grove Way.
Oh, okay, Grove Way, okay.
Yeah. And sooner or later, everything started, we didn't pay it any attention because really we didn't know anything about it.
Did you
the
know,
hatreds of it.
Did you know who the men were that put the crosses up?
No, they had their hoods on their face, so we didn't know.
Okay, so it was the Ku Klux Klan.
I guess it was maybe some of the people here in Roswell. I don't know. We don't now name any of them. But they had a grocery store here, which was Reed's food store. And everybody knew one another. They always congregate, the black and the white, congregate there and bought food. So we would always have conversations there. And then there was another store, what they called it, Mike Factory. Well, didn't many, shop there that much, but they did shop there. They mostly shopped at Reed's food store because he had more variety of stuff.
And that was very close to Webb
They're
Street.
very close, just up the street from our house. Yeah, we was all right with that.
Did you go to Smith's Five and Dime?
Oh yeah, we went there too. We always went there to get our, what you call the socks or the, something like that. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's pretty much.
They had a women's social club.
Oh, yeah.
You remember?
Yeah. The women's social club was consist of all the women in Roswell, and they could be from Alpharetta if they wanted to be. So we formed that, and what they did was we put our money in every week. Each person would have the club at their house, and we would serve not no little order, we would serve dinner. And each one looked like they wanted to outdo one another. So that's what we did. We saved maybe $2, maybe $3 or whatever we could. And after the end of the year, we would get it all out, and we would go and buy whatever we needed, like buying our children Christmas, or we could, whatever way we wanted to spend the money.
Was that called something like the Silver Club or
Silver Club,
Circle?
the women club.
Okay.
Okay. And we went on trips together, like Chattanooga, what is that, up in the mountain. We went up there a couple of times.
So you basically had all of your restaurants, your clubs, and your church that you all went to, that you all belonged to, and did you know anybody that lived on like Zion Circle and Bush Street?
Yeah, we knew, everybody knew one another at that time, yes. But most all the people that lived on Zion Circle, they have passed on. And most of us on Webb Street is trickling down too. So we all, like I said, we Alpharetta and Roswell. Alpharetta or Roswell. It was either one. And we would go to Alpharetta when they would have, like the church have homecoming and so forth, and people from all over would come to the homecoming. That's how we had our, fun too, meeting one another. Once a year or twice a year, we would meet up.
So you really had a nice social life that you created for your community.
Yes, we all created it, because we would find out whose birthday was going to be, and we would have birthday parties at one another's houses. And that was another way that we congregate together. And they had room enough for us to dance, and we just had fun.
Where did you meet?
Where did we eat?
Where did you meet?
We met at, maybe Mr. Suda might have had a birthday at his house. Whomever, the Knuckles, the Ransbys, whomever would have a party, we would go and have a good time.
So dancing was a big party.
Dancing was always, yeah.
Good food and dancing.
Good food and dancing, yes.
So what changes have you seen?
Well, the changes, I wouldn't say they have changed that much, but they have changed in a lot of ways, where you could go and find a job in the, like, companies now coming, food stores and good stores and all that, coming where you can get probably a good job. And then for one reason too is when they pay Social Security, some of the maids or butlers or whatever, they didn't get the Social Security, so they was out of that. So whenever they needed other funds, they didn't have Social Security.
And so their employer wasn't paying into
They wasn't
Social
paying into
Security,
the Social
so
Security.
they didn't accumulate any.
So what they had to do was just go and get whatever they would get, when they got old and couldn't work or whatever.
So how has your neighborhood changed?
Neighborhood changed in the way, like I said, we all was friendly to one another, but now it's changed because all the ones that passed on, the siblings are either the one that stayed with them have sold the property, and now we have a big congregation of people that we do not know right now. Some we know because they might come by and wave or something like that. But as far as the neighborhood being like it used to be, it's not that way no more.
You used to depend on each other?
We used to depend on one another.
Did everybody watch out for everybody else's
Everybody
kids?
watched out for one another. Yes. Yes, they
So
did.
the kids couldn't get away with anything
Nothing.
because...
Yeah. My sister-in-law, which the one raised him, Lottie, everybody called her Mama Lottie. Mama Lottie. The reason why, because Mama Lottie was not going to let you get by with anything.
So Mama Lottie raised Leroy Charles Grogan. That's who you're referring to.
Yes. And if you stayed a little bit too long that you're supposed to, she would tell you to get, excuse the expression, get your down that hill there. You're not supposed to be up here.
So there was never any trouble because the women were strong.
Never any trouble. No, no. Because like I said, everybody knew one another. And if you weren't supposed to be at this place, they would let you know in a nice, respectable way. And if they wanted to whoop you or whatever, they could. So that's the way we were, you know. We're going to make you mine. Even in the churches. Even in the churches, we all congregate. When we congregate there, we knew one another, and you know how to treat one another. Because the churches had a lot of activities too. You know, like if we had choir anniversary, preacher's anniversary, you know, that type of thing. So that make people come back, you know, to activities for the churches.
So that's great. So you had a very strong community.
Yes.
But when your children graduated, did they stay in the area, or did a lot of them move away?
Well, my oldest son, he married and he moved over in Shamley. And my other son, I think Marcy, he moved over to over there by Shamley. He married and my daughter Emily, she bought her a little house over in Roswell, Georgia. And my other daughter, she had a home in Lithonia, but all my children now, they separated and they came back home. And the only reason why they came back home is because we had room enough for them to come back home. And right now, they're with me now. And really, I have people to come up and say, your children still stay with you? I say, yes, of course. If it hadn't been in a way for my children being in the house with us, when my husband got sick, I couldn't have handled it all by myself. So with Leroy and all my children, we got along okay, and we still get along okay.
So it's a blessing to have them there.
There you go. It's a blessing. It's a blessing to have children that will do and willing to do. That's my.
You must have raised them very well.
I don't know if I did or not, but but I know that they love their daddy, and I used to get angry with that. But then I understood that he was a father figure to just about everybody in the neighborhood, because he was a barber, and they all came to him for their haircuts. And then they go to Alpharetta. There was another man in Alpharetta that cut hair. So that way again is the way everybody, especially men, congregate, because they would talk to one another and tell stories and so forth. So
where did he cut hair? Did he have a barber shop, or did he do it at
no,
home?
he did it in the house, on the porch. Every weekend he would have somebody there, you know, and they would just talk about the ball game and the football and the this and the that and whatever else.
Did he like to go to the baseball games?
Oh my God, yes, and wrestling matches, anything that had activities like that, he would love it. And at one time, he had 3 TVs in the house and a radio. when the World Series came on, he was going to be there to see the World Series. I remember one day he came from work and I had my stories on, and we didn't have a one TV. And he came in and he turned it off and put it on his ball game. And I got angry. And he said, "Oh, that's okay. I'll go buy me another one." So he went and bought another TV so he could see the World Series. And then after that, he started buying TVs to look, you know.
He figured out he could watch more than one sporting event.
Yes, he could. So, and everybody that visited us, they would always look and say, "How is he looking at 3 TVs?" And then the radio, he had good listening ears. He had good one. He was really a motivator.
How long were you married?
Well, it would have been 73 years if my husband had lived.
When did he pass away?
It's been over 5 years now, almost 6. We all miss him because, like I said, his nickname was Joe Doby. I don't know where it came from, but everybody was calling it, "Yeah, we're going over to Joe Doby's house," you know. And like he always would receive people coming in, and they would have conversation. And
so your doors were always open?
Always open, always. Even whoever needed somewhere to lay their head for a while, we would open the door for them. Yes.
Great.
You were saying that Joseph was a barber, and his sisters.
Yeah, was the beauticians
on the street.
While he was cutting hair for the men, his sister was doing the hair for the ladies.
And what kind of treatments did the ladies get?
They got very good treatment.
Did they get like perms or cuts or color?
No, it wasn't like that. It was just washing and press it out and then take it and curl it. That was the way we. And didn't charge that much either. Sometimes they might charge $2. Then maybe go up to $3 if they wanted somebody want to give them, you know, a little extra or something like that. But it never was. But it was that $1 or $2 was big money at that time.
What do you mean when you say press
it out?
It
could straighten iron and straighten it out. And it on a little heater, and the curlers, clip and the hair.
So you really had everything that you needed in your community, you all provided for.
Yes, we did. I would say so, because I was not raised to have a whole lot. My mom taught us whatever we had, we appreciated. And I got a pair of skates when I was growing up for my Christmas present and my birthday, because my birthday was the 24th of December and December 25th, but I got a pair of skates. And I enjoyed those skates. I wore them out. So she always taught us whatever we have, appreciate it, where it was little or much.
Could you name his brothers and sisters?
Who? Joe?
Your husband.
Joe Doby?
Yeah.
Well, let me see. I would say the first one, Mamie, and they called him Dick. Then Moses, and Aaron, and Annie, and Lula Mae, Lily Pearl, and who else? Lottie, and who is that? Lenora, and then Joseph.
Now, was your husband born in Roswell?
He was born in Alpharetta.
He was born in Alpharetta. And what brought him to Roswell?
Well, My memory is when they was released, I guess you say, I won't say kicked out, released from Commons, most all the people went to Alpharetta. So he was born and raised in Alpharetta. And after a while, by and by, him and his mother and the rest they moved to Roswell because something had opened up. The land on Webb Street had opened up, so they bought homes over there.
Do you know who owned that land on Webb Street before they purchased their property?
Part was the Knuckles family, because I think they had about 3 or 4 lots there. They bought them up. I don't know how they did that either, but they bought them from the Knuckles family.
Okay, and I think it's my understanding that they encouraged the black community to stay and build.
Stay and build, yeah. And I'm proud of that. You know the reason why I'm proud of that? Because at one time, my daughter wanted to move out of my house. She done got grown, she wanted to move and have her own thing. And she was one of those pushy ones, go get her and whatever. And she put in for a housing over on the Roswell Roswell housing. And at that time, Miss Pelfrey, she was the manager. And she called me, I don't know how she got my number, but she called me and she said, "Did you know your daughter had put in for a housing over here?" I said, "No, ma'am, I didn't." She said, "Well, I'm sorry, she's not gonna get it anyway, you know." So what happened was she went out and got her own apartment, and her and her friend, you know, was roommate until after her child was born. And then after that, she started being independent, going to get whatever was needed for her to be independent. So after a while, by and by, she bought a house. And from there, she started doing well in jobs and whatever way that, you know, to support her and her son. That's the independent of her. You know, she wanted to be independent. And from this day, she was always independent.
And your daughter's name is?
She was Emily Denise. She married a minister, but she's passed on. And really, I don't want to talk about it because I get the boo-hooing right now, you know, because she was kind of like Leroy. They kind of lashed together sometimes because they had the same, I guess you said, the same mindset. Their mind was working almost the same way because he was always independent of doing whatever he wanted to do. And he did it, and he's still doing it. And she did hers. She kept on doing what she wanted to do. She bought a house, and then she rented out the house that she had, her and her daddy had, she had made, in a way I say she made her daddy sign for her to build the first house that she bought.
Where did she build the first house?
On Commons Way, off of Manson. And then she bought a house over on Creekland, where she'd been there for years. And she married a minister, but they didn't stay together too long. So that's...
Well, is there anything else that you'd like to tell us about Roswell that you would like people to know?
Well, only thing that I would love for people to know about is we really got along okay with both races together because we had a way of getting along. When EOA came, it brought us all together because EOA did a lot of things for everybody. And what they did was they would do things for the kids, they would open up a way for the kids to get jobs. And a lot of the kids that got jobs still have them from Northside Hospital to Charlotte Hospital. All those came in conjunction with EOA.
Tell me what EOA stands for again.
Economic Opportunity, Atlanta. And like I said before, Mary Drake was the one, and she was a white little lady. She never had married before, but she was so humble. And I love her until this day. We got along real good, and she taught me everything that I knew about going out and doing outreach. We went through outreach in the Louvre, all around Sheltonville, over in that area, because all of it was coming together, you know, neighborhoods. Because if they needed food or needed rent paid or light paid or whatever, it was always there. And I remember how she and, I don't know if you know Miss Frances McGahee.
Yes, I do.
Okay, well, anytime she needed anything, all she had to do was pick up the telephone and call Miss Gahee, and she said she would see what she can do. And before long, we would see her coming in the door, bringing her a check to do whatever need to be done for that family. And after the EOA went down, it came up, the FACA, Fulton Land Community Action Authority, where I worked for a long time.
And what did you do there?
I did the same thing I did for EOA with social service, going out doing outreach, helping the older ones that couldn't come to the center.
Where was the center located?
Down at North Fulton.
On Groveway.
Groveway, yeah. Until, the North Fulton Charities, they was located there too until they got large. So when they got large, they wanted to move. I didn't want them to move, but they moved up to, where they could serve more people. And that's what they're doing right now. They're serving more people. And that Bobby Duffy, she and Mary worked together also. And we all worked together. We didn't, it wasn't no who did this, who did that, or whatever. We all did to treat one another the way we wanted to be treated. And I remember one time that the secretary said she got tired of the people coming back and forth in. I'm tired of writing them up. I'm tired of them. And Miss Mary Drake, you know what she did?
What?
She went over and talked to her in private and told her, say, you know what? If these people didn't come in here, me or you, either one, wouldn't be here in this job. So, like I said, it was no black, white, blue, yellow, whatever. It was people. People needing people. We got along.
So the two things that I see about this is you all work together, but also you served communities far outside of the Roswell area.
Yes, we did.
That is something I did not know.
Yes, we did. Yeah. Because it was mostly rural. Duluth was rural, because we wasn't supposed to go over the borderline. But some was, like Forsyth County, was on the borderline of Duluth. And one time, that's funny, I don't guess I said it, but anyway, I was over the borderline in Common. I had a blue and white car at that time. And I was bringing the food to this person, and I was trying to find what street they was on. And they discovered it was me, and of course I was black. And they called down to the center and told her, do you have a lady up here in a blue and white car? But tell her not to come no more, because we don't want her to get hurt. Because I was over the line, over in Common.
And when was this?
It's been 20-something years ago. But they was trying to, I guess, protect me in a lot of ways. I would say it like that, because they didn't want me to get hurt if somebody had seen me bringing the food to the person that needed it. They was no telling what they probably would have did to me. So they was nice enough to call and tell them not to send me up there no more.
And when did you stop working for them?
Oh, well, I was working for Footland Community Action, and I got sick. And that's the only time. I wouldn't have retired even then, but I retired because I got sick. Because I loved what I was doing. I didn't call it no job. I called it my mission, what I was taught long years ago as a child. To do unto others that you have them do unto you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we always had that in our spirit. Whatever anybody do to you, you do it back to them. If they had a good deed, do it back to them. So we all didn't look at it like some people look at it today. We look at it because it's human nature to do the right thing. Mm-hmm.
I got a question about your mother-in-law.
My mother-in-law.
Yeah, what stands out about her?
Oh, talking about, I call her, everybody called her Ma. She was Ma to everybody.
But what was her real name?
Well, Rosalie.
Rosalie Strickland?
Yes, Well, like I said, we were staying in her house. And she taught me a whole lot, something that I didn't get at home all the time. And that was piecing quilts. Because my sister did it all the time, but I didn't think I wanted to do that. So when I moved with her, she taught me how to do the big quilt out of sacks and so forth. So I did that, and I learned that. And a lot of little things I learned from her that I didn't get at home.
Do you still have some of those quilts?
No, I don't. But she taught me a lot. She taught me a lot. Mm-hmm. She knew that I was young and didn't know too much, so she just took me under her wing.
But did you learn how to make that deep dish blackberry pie?
No, I didn't never. She never did do the blackberry pie, but she always would go out in the what they call the pathway down from the house. There was blackberries there. She would take her stick, and she would go and pick those blackberries and bring them back and cook a blackberry pie. She always could find something to cook, no matter what it was. Make her a meal out of it.
Oh, so she was famous for blackberry pie.
She was famous for the blackberry pie. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But she taught me a lot, I can say, because she was so humble herself. She was so humble. Mm-hmm. That's the reason why we want to keep her memory going. It's called the family reunion. And my daughter, the one that passed with Emily, she made a big photo picture like up there of all 10 of them. And every time that we have the family reunion, she would bring the picture and set it there so everybody would know why we are having this family reunion, because of these 10 children that kept it going. So that's what we're trying to do now.
So still for all the younger generations.
The younger generation, so they can catch hold to, what family means. Because if you don't have family, you don't have nothing, really. You can have all the money you want or whatever, but if you don't have nobody to help you spend it or enjoy it, what is it?
So how many people usually come to these reunions now?
Oh, it's over 100 or so. Mm-hmm.
Does everybody cook for it?
Everybody bring a covered dish now. Mm-hmm. Everybody. But the children at that time, they didn't ask nobody to bring anything but themselves. And they would start like a week before the family reunion. They would go and get the beans, the corn, the apples, because she can make good apple pies too, fried pies and stuff. They would get that and put it up. cook it and put it in the freezer and then bring it out. And they have enough for everybody. Hmm.
Wow, that's a great story.
And you talk like, I miss all that. That's the reason why we have to tell our children where it all came from.
So how many houses are still the original houses on Webb Street now?
Only one, and that was, the children built the house back for their mother because the first house burnt, and they built the little block house back. Her son and her grandson, they was most of the one that built it back. And the one that she raised from her daughter, she still lives in the house. Sarah Knuckles, she still lives in the house. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So,
and that's the only one really that's there because I was burnt and we had to build back. And the one up the street, the Blakes, theirs is still there, but they did remodel it. Mm-hmm. So no other is there.
do you still feel like there's still a sense of community here, even though a lot of people have moved away?
Yes, I think so. Mm-hmm. It's still a community to me because when our house burnt, the city did not want us to build back because they said it was not on the code or whatever. But there too, Leroy and my daughter, they went to City Hall and explained why we wanted the house built back on Webb Street. They didn't want us to do it, but they kept on until they got consent to build the house back.
And what year was that?
Oh, well, it's been, what, now? We've been there about 8-9 years now, back there. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we used our same telephone number. A lot of people thought we had changed, but we didn't change it. They didn't change the telephone number. So everybody knew our telephone number. So that was a good thing. Mm-hmm.
So how many years have you been in that same spot?
Well, I would say ever since we raised our kids.
So how many years would that be?
We say over 60 years anyway. Yes, over 60 years. Mm.
Is there anything else that you can think of that you'd like to tell us?
Well, I think I might cover most all of it, but not all. But I guess the most important is that I want to stay here in Roswell as long as I can until he called me. Mm-hmm. And I hope that's not very soon. Mm-hmm.